We're back.
You were the chosen one!
Always hold on to small.
Avengers,
Assemble.
Hey, we thank y'all for being so patient. It's been a crazy few weeks, but welcome to Nerd City Central. I'm Lamont. This is my boy Curry. We are back with some good content for y'all. And this week's episode is going to be about What If, and it's Star Wars edition. We'll be doing more What If videos down the line, but this week's episode is going to be about what if we were the Kathleen Kennedy of Lucasfilm? What if we were the president of Lucasfilm? So the premise today is just doing some creative imagining, some creative thinking, right? We're using our imaginations. And what we want to do is answer the question, what would we do if we had control over Lucasfilm? Let's say it's early 2012. George Lucas comes to Curry and myself, and he says, hey, I want to sell my company. Here you go. We buy it. What would be our plans for, let's say, the next 10 to 15 years? So that's what we're going to be asking and each other and then answering. And then we would love to hear what you would do down in the comments section below. If you have not already, subscribe for more good nerd, wholesome content. And we appreciate y'all.
And to clarify, this isn't a opportunity for us to come out and just say, hey, let's decanonize this, and we don't like the sequels, and we don't like Disney Star Wars era. Both Lamont and I love a lot of the Disney Star Wars era. We have some nitpicks here and there, but this is just a chance to say, hey, if you had the chance, what would you do different? Not if you would do the sequel trilogy, great, but how would you do it? That's the question, because everyone has their own way and their own thought of how certain things could have happened a different way. Some are happy with the whole trilogy. Most aren't in some way, shape, or form. So it's just a chance to kind of look back and be like, hey, this huge thing happens. What would you do if given this unlimited power?
And just like what Curry said, we're not trying to bash Kathleen Kennedy. We're not trying to bash Lucasfilm. Listen, there's some stuff that, of course, we don't care for. But overall, I think Lucasfilm has been more hit than miss since the acquisition back in 2012. So I'm happy. I'm thankful. I actually enjoy the sequel trilogy. I mean, you guys know where episode 7 and 9 fall on my ranking. I even like number 8. So with that being said, I'm going to let my esteemed co-host go first. Curry, George Lucas comes to you, 2012. You buy it. What are you doing and what years? You got to put the years in. How are you doing this? What years are you doing?
Like, what year does stuff come out?
Yeah, come on, man. You're the president. So
I think realistically, the timeline, you need at least 3 to 4 years to plan for movies. So let's just say 2015 at the earliest, we start releasing new Star Wars movies. And you mentioned this to me when we were talking about this before. I think I would take the approach of planning out the entire trilogy over that course of that 3 years, and then kind of do them like Lord of the Rings, film them all back to back, release them every year.
Yep.
Then take a couple year break before you do another trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been thinking long and hard about, there's all this existing material when Disney bought Star Wars. Do you decanonize it all? Do you cherry pick? What do you do? So you're not tied to anything.
Yep.
And my assumption would be keep it canon unless you're going to remake something. So what I would do is keep it all canon except for a few mainline titles, which would be, for me, the first trilogy would be adapting the Heir to the Empire story. For me, and I haven't even read those books. I'm familiar with the large beats of the story. But for me, those books were marketed in the 90s as the official episode 7, 8, and 9. And they're the only books. Well, one, they began the EU, so it's a good place to jump on. And they're the only books where George Lucas had direct involvement as a creative consultant. He may have consulted on some artwork or some details here and there, but this one he actually worked on. And they say he was going to decanonize everything when he did his sequel trilogy anyways. but maybe not everything. It's neither here nor there at this point. So yeah, I would adapt those stories, try to keep them as faithful as possible. Really be more of an issue of taking things out rather than changing things. Because if you're going to adapt something, you want to do it in a way that's respectful to the material, but also not drastically deviate too much, because then you're just going to make everyone mad. So 2015, 2016, 2017 would be the Heir to the Empire trilogy. In the meanwhile, Clone Wars would not have gotten canceled. It would have kept going. Rebels still would have been made because I love both of those. And I actually think had Clone Wars kept going, the Clone Wars were actually supposed to introduce the Yuuzhan Vong from the New Jedi Order books. And so Heir to the Empire that trilogy would end, Thrawn's defeated, whatnot. And then it leaves on a big setup for the next trilogy, which I would make would be episodes 10 through 12, condensing the 19-book series about the New Jedi Order and the Yuuzhan Vong invasion.
Yeah.
So season 8 of Clone Wars kind of hints at that. And then you have Clone Wars tying into the movies, and kind of like what they're doing now, where there's thematic connections and story connections all throughout the saga. So then I would go into the New Jedi Order trilogy. They defeat the Yuuzhan Vong. That this whole threat would be over, and that would be kind of like an end of an era. So I would cast younger actors to replace the original actors for those first two trilogies. And then you would jump 30-some years into the future, bring back the old actors, and cast the Solo twins. And Ben Skywalker, I believe, is Luke's son in the EU.
Yep, Ben Skywalker. Which makes more sense than Ben Solo.
Yes, it does.
In my opinion.
Right. Bring them in and adapt a condensed version of the Legacy of the Force novels, which was heavily used for the sequel trilogy anyways.
Yep.
Where Jaden Solo becomes Darth Caedus, and Jaina Solo ends up being trained as a Jedi to defeat her brother. It's just, there's a really good story in there. And again, that's a book series I've never read fully, but I remember when each one would come out when I was a kid, and the details would leak online. My brother would tell me about it, and it was just super exciting.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I would end the Skywalker saga.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Clone Wars going on, you got Rebels going on. I'm even okay with Bad Batch, maybe even still being made. You've got those three trilogies, and obviously Star Wars shouldn't necessarily end. Star Wars needs a change. Mm-hmm. So then I think what I would do is, after a couple more years, and I'm sorry, I forgot to leave out years. So 15, 16, 17 would be the first trilogy. I would probably wait 2 to 3 years so it's not a franchise burnout, and do the same thing, yearly releases, then wait 3 years, yearly releases. After episode, what would that be, 15, I guess it would be, come out, I would do an animated series or a CG animated series based on Star Wars Legacy, where it jumps 100 years into the future about Kate Skywalker, because then you can do whatever you want. You can take things new. All the characters you know and love are gone. It's a chance to really open the doors wide open for Star Wars. In terms of raw thoughts and ideas, that's what I'd like, and I think also I would make it clearer across the properties that the world between worlds allows for multiple timelines to exist. Not necessarily going into the whole idea of this multiverse can cross over with this multiverse and vice versa. But just in the sense that if there was other Star Wars content that did get decanonized or somehow got contradicted, you can loosely say, hey, the world between worlds is an explanation for that, which Rebels kind of did, but that's more of a headcanon thing for me right now because it's not outright confirmed.
Yeah.
But I would do that, not necessarily just to open the door. Because that could be a can of worms, right? You don't want to get too convoluted with that. But it does allow fans to be satisfied and hey, if I want a different headcanon, there's actually an in-universe explanation as to how that can happen. So if a book comes out or a movie comes out or a show comes out that contradicts the tie-in novel to Rebels with a certain character.
Hey, you mean the comic book? Yeah, man.
The canon comic got retconned, and now it's okay, so is that in canon legends?
It's basically in canon legends, man. Yeah.
But just to avoid all that mess, you don't have to worry about tiered canons anymore. I think there's a lot that could be done that I would do differently. And y'all forgive me. I have a 6-month or 7-month-old son in the back who is screaming his head off right now, but that's just because he loves Star Wars too. And yeah, so Lamont, that's where I am. Man, I'm excited to hear about yours. I think you've got some similar but also super interesting ideas.
Yeah, man. So I think we both are very similar. So the way that I would do it is I would take from the end of 2012 to probably 2013, 2014, and I would do the Lord of the Rings style. I would film every single movie in the trilogy. And the reason why, I mean, it's so sad, man. We lost our princess, Carrie Fisher, Leia Organa. And sadly, we just don't know how much time we have left. And I think that filming all these movies back to back to back, not to be morbid, but it is a good policy just because in case someone does die in the meantime, you're not stuck with a Rise of Skywalker type issue, which is how do we implement this character's story? How do we end it tastefully because the actress or the actor has died?
I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
So for me, that's the way I would do it too. And to me, it also opens up the door for the actors and actresses to be able to do something else in the meantime.
Yeah.
So they're not beholden to just filming, this series. So what I would do, first thing I would do is the sequel trilogy, and it would be based off the new Jedi Order. And so it would be based about it would show and showcase, Luke's new Jedi Order, Leia Organa's New Republic, and it would be facing off not against the Yuuzhan Vong, but against the Grisk Kingdom, which the Grisk are similar to the Vong in canon, but I would implement them. So it would be about, we would see the glory of Luke's new Jedi Order, the rebuilt, strong New Republic facing off against the Grisk, and in that we would also see the Solo twins, Bail Solo and Rey Solo. And so we would see Bail especially be the hero. He would be the new Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker of the trilogy. We would see him rise above the fray, so to speak. We would see him also get captured, like in the books, tortured, and he would overcome, but it would start to do something to him. He's been touched by darkness. In one of the last scenes of episode 9, we would see somehow Bail give in to the darkness as a kind of a teaser, which would say, hey, his story isn't over yet. What's going to happen? So that's how it would end. It would be the new Jedi Order, which would have been really hurt. A lot of Jedi would have died, but the Jedi Order still would have been surviving, and yep. Luke would have been alive. Leia, Han. Well, Han probably would have died because Harrison Ford. But we would have seen it. We would have seen. I know. It hurts your heart. We would have seen it thriving. The New Republic would have been really hurt, decimated, but still okay for the most part. It would have been still standing, should I say? But you see, it's struggling, and the Jedi Order's struggling. But Bail again is the hero, and then so that would have been 2015, 2016, and 2017. And then we would take a 1-year break. And then starting in 2019, Star Wars Heir to the Empire, the animated series. And it would have been, again, CGI, animated, just like the Bad Batch, the Clone Wars. And we would have seen 5 years post Return of the Jedi. And we would have seen the trios fight with Thrawn. And we would have seen the birth of Bail and Rey. So the way that
so it would take place before the new Jedi Order stuff.
Yes, yeah.
It was kind of filling that gap. Okay.
So we would do again, and also the sequel trilogy would take place around 35 years after Return of the Jedi because of how old the actors and actresses are.
Yeah.
And then the animated series would have been 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So we're filling in that gap, right? So you get to see the glory of the new Jedi Order, the New Republic, but you also get to see how they got there.
Yeah.
So you get to see kind of the beginning. You see Luke start to build the order. We see Leia get trained a little bit as a Jedi. See her build her lightsaber, all that good stuff. We see Han join up with Wedge and Tilly's and train New Republic fighters, which I think would have been amazing and a good arc for Han to see him still being the rogue that we love, but given to the New Republic.
Yep.
So I would have loved that. So yeah, Star Wars Heir to the Empire animated series. It would have been 2019, 2020, and 2021. And then we take one more year, another year break, and then starting in 2023, episodes 10 through 12, the final Skywalker saga films. And here, it would be based off of the Legacy of the Force series, where Bail finally starts to give into that darkness that he encountered, he was touched by during the Grist Kingdom. And I think building Bail up and watching him fall in the eyes of the Republic, in the eyes of the Order, would be devastated. We would see Luke deal with some Last Jedi type issues without running away. But he would feel like he's failed his nephew. Yep. He's failed Leia and Han. He's failed the galaxy. He's failed the Order. We would see Hayden Christensen come back as a Force ghost. Anakin talking to him. We would have seen Obi-Wan and Yoda, all three, come back in Force ghost appearances to speak to Luke and say, hey, it's not over yet. But here's what would have happened. Luke would eventually die a heroic death to save Rey. We would see Finn. Finn would have been in it, a former stormtrooper turned Jedi. So Rey and Finn would have been romantically involved, and we would have seen Bail Solo die unredeemed. So Bail Solo would not have done a Darth Vader. In fact, we would have seen him basically finish what Vader would have started. In other words, he would have died evil, dark side. And we would have seen.
I like that too, because
yes,
there's consequences for the story.
There is, man. Like he doesn't come back, and we would have Bail kill Luke while Luke is trying to save Rey.
Whoa. Why you gotta kill all the legacy characters?
Bro, it has to. Hey, here's the thing. It's time for an open door, though.
Wait, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Where's Mace Windu?
Mace Windu's still dead, but he shows up in Heir to the Empire, the animated series. Man.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah. And yes, so that's what's up, man. Who knows? We might throw him in episodes 10. Nah, he's too old. He'd have to be in the sequel trilogy. All that to say, by the way, this episodes 10 through 12 takes place 5 years after the end of the sequel trilogy. So still in that same timeline. But yeah, we would have seen Rey having to deal with the guilt that Luke died to save her. And the end of the last episode title probably would have been, this is my thought, Star Wars Episode 12, The Sword of the Jedi, which comes from the book series. And it would have had Rey Solo and Finn leading the new Jedi Order. Leia would still be alive. Han would be dead. Luke would be dead. But Leia would still be with the New Republic. So Leia survives. She's the only one who survives, along with Chewie and, of course, the droids. But the two men gone. But yeah, that's my vision of how I wish it would have gone, man. To see Rey really say, you know what, hey, I'm going to carry on. She deals with the darkness she's dealing with, the anger at her brother. And he dies unredeemed, but the last words he says are, I'm sorry, sister. I'm sorry for everything. But he's not redeemed. He still dies evil. So all that to say, man, those are my so it would have started in 2015 and end in 2025. So a 10-year window. And I really don't think, my last thing I'll say is, I don't think that there's such a thing as Star Wars burnout. I think there's such a thing as poor Star Wars burnout.
Yeah,
I think if people got the Mandalorian type content in the sequel trilogy, we saw that Luke Skywalker, we saw that level of deep storytelling that did not, let's be honest, copy and paste the original trilogy, just in an inferior way, people would have loved it.
Yeah.
People would have loved to have seen a Boba Fett come back to help out. Or to, what if Boba Fett trains Rey Solo like he did in the Legacy of the Force series? So she's getting trained by Jedi and Mandalorians to take down her brother, who's so powerful. So for me, that's just what I'm thinking, man. I wish we would have gotten something similar to that.
Yeah.
Hey, it is what it is. We still have legends. Praise God for that.
I like the idea of the Heir to the Empire trilogy being like a 3-season animated series.
Yeah, 20 episodes.
Yeah, I think that's good. My only an issue might be too strong of a word, but my only issue there is that I worry that like you go from Return of the Jedi to the beginning of the New Jedi Order. One, you kind of skip all that world building and it comes after. So you still get it, but it comes after. And then the Grisk or the Yuuzhan Vong, whatever you use, don't have the buildup that they did if you do it the other way. But honestly, man, I'd be okay with either one of those.
Yeah, but see, I'm gonna push back just on this point right here.
Yeah.
It's an honor of George Lucas that would do it that way. He drops us in the middle of 4, 5, and 6. We don't know anything about what's happened before, and then he goes back to the prequels to fill in that space. I would want to give people automatically the age Luke, Leia, and Han. It's been what? It came out in 83, 2015, so what, 30-something years later?
And that was going to be my biggest point for why I think your idea is better, because you don't have to wait a whole another prequel trilogy of movies basically to give the older versions.
And people are waiting. People are waiting to see Luke, Leia, and Han. Plus, I'm thinking as if I were a business, owner, the president of Lucasfilm, the actors and actresses aren't the youngest anymore. I want to get them while they're still willing to act and do these, these physical tasks. I want to get them while they're ready. You know what I mean?
And you could even do like a couple flashbacks with Thrawn in the movies if you really wanted to, or flash forwards or something, and then just have the show fill in the gaps. I'm going to rescind mine, and I'm going to adapt that from yours.
Appreciate you, big dog. It gives some freedom. Now, one thing that I am thinking about too is that the sequel trilogy, I wouldn't mind. Let's say Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, like, dude, we just don't want to do 6 more movies. We're good for 3. I would have Han and Luke die in the Grisk War, saving it, and then episodes 10 to 12, Rey and Bail and Finn. But we see Jedi Master, Grandmaster, Bail Solo fall to the dark, and it's kind of their civil war. So we see the Republic kind of caught in the middle of it, like, hey, what's going on? So, you know what I mean? It's the Jedi are at war with each other. We see the New Republic kind of start to build factions. Some are going with Bail, some are with Rey and Finn. What's going to happen? So I wouldn't even mind having episodes 10 through 12 really just be primarily about the Skywalker grandchildren, the Solo twins, and then Finn. And Finn he would only scream Rey once. And he would never scream her name again.
Yeah.
There would be no Canto Bite scene.
I think something I'd like to see too is more of the Sith lore, like delved into, and that might be some stuff because say when Jason Solo or Bail Solo, whoever goes bad, that he goes like searching, maybe he finds a new version of Exegol, and he has Force visions of Darth Bane and like the Sith Wars and all these things going on.
Which is a tie-in after the movies are over to go back in time and show that.
Yeah, do animated series on it.
Bro, forget animated series, a Disney Plus series about Darth Bane and the Rilla 2. And I would have Dave Bautista play Dave Bautista, be Bane. Either him, I kind of thinking The Rock.
I knew you were going to say that because I thought the same thing.
Bro, I'm kind of feeling The Rock, but I feel like The Rock may be a little just too.
Do you smell what Darth Bane is cooking?
Yeah, man. You know what I mean? Nah, honestly, I probably will go with Batista, to be honest with you, man. Yeah. I will go with Dave Bautista to be Darth Bane, bro. And then eventually we would see Plagueis and Palpatine, a young Palpatine.
Yeah.
Get Matt Smith to come back, do some stuff, man. There's just so much. There's so much going on, man. We have to do a video, some content for those who are watching. Thank you guys again for watching on like the High Republic and the Acolyte coming out, man. We have so much good Star Wars content coming out, man.
Yeah. You know, I'm still in the middle of, I kind of took a break from the audiobooks I'm doing. I was reading Bloodline. I just took a break for a little while, but I'm getting such an itch to dive into Legends because I want to experience a different story. And I've heard a lot of people tell me that Legends gets messy. And I remember a couple details from when I was a kid that sound a little iffy nowadays. but I don't know what my childhood imagination cooked up and got mixed in with what I was told. So, to be honest with you, the canon now is just as messy.
They're retconning itself, like literally, and not just TV shows to written media like books and comics, but even shows between shows and shows. Rex tells, I forgot who he tells. I think he tells Kanan in Rebels, "I did not fire on my Jedi. I didn't turn against him." Clone Wars season 7, he does literally turn against him and against Ahsoka and he helps her, but he tries to kill her.
Yep.
So my thing is, okay, that's a retcon, Dave Filoni, and I love you, but that's a retcon.
Yep.
That was the whole point, is I didn't fire on Ahsoka, but we look at season 7, and bro, you literally fired on Ahsoka multiple times, and was on the hunt for Ahsoka.
Yeah, there's little ones like that, but also if they mean messy
sequel trilogy
from story wise, look at the sequel trilogy. Look, you can enjoy the sequels, love the sequels,
yes,
and still admit that they are messy and they weren't completely thought out. So I really, at least the EU, the Legends universe, did the legwork to build up to all of the things that happen. I mean, you go from a 3-part book series that launches comics that continue the story. Then you have a 19-book series going through the New Jedi Order, the Vong invasion, before you ever even get to Legacy of the Force. So you've had all this time with the characters. They I know, I can't remember which book. I think it's in the New Jedi Order books. Or is it Heir of the Empire where Chewbacca dies?
Oh, it's New Jedi Order.
But he's like giving a funeral. It's like a whole big thing, and like it really upset fans at the time. But like it does the work necessary to build up to it, because all Thrawn was trying to do was prepare the galaxy for the Vong invasion. Like, wait a second, what's the Vong? It took a very MCU-like approach to the universe before anybody did.
And imagine if they did the animated series or even a movie, and the last word that Thrawn says is Vong. And they're like, Vong, what is that? And he dies. And there's just this feeling like of, yo, something's not coming. Or they find out that, hey, the Emperor didn't just do the Death Star to keep the galaxy in order. He built it for an enemy that's coming. And Luke, Leia, and Han are looking at each other, looking at the two little Solo twins, being babies, and they're like, something's coming. Something's coming one day. We got to get ready. It's like, what if the Emperor wasn't? What if there's a bigger threat than the Emperor and Vader out there?
Yeah, because then it gives, and I'm not saying I need like motivation for Palpatine wanting the Empire to be the Empire, but it does add an interesting element. It's like, yeah, he wanted ultimate power, but he also had a greater plan in mind, because the Sith have kind of become just like this pure evil. Like there's no nuance to them at all anymore. I feel like that's one thing I didn't care for in the sequel trilogy. Whereas you have a chance to really showcase what the dark side of the Force is. What does balance mean? You can explore that in a little bit more detail. But one of the things I would do at the end of the Heir to the Empire is I would have Force Ghosts, Mace Windu, show up to Luke and be like, "Hey, I'm here to talk to you about the Jedi Initiative."
Bro, yes. Hey.
But dude, Force Ghost Anakin, I would do Disney Plus shows about Vader hunting down the Jedi.
Bro, it's easy money. Give us a Vader series, live action with Hayden Christensen, and with his Inquisitors hunting down other Order 66 survivors.
Oh, 2 things. That reminds me. I would canonize the Force Unleashed video game / books, because the stories in those are incredible. If you aren't familiar with them, Lamont, I think you would really enjoy them.
Bro, I played both of them. Not all the way through, but I played. Oh,
one of the saddest things ever is that the 3rd game got canceled. Because do you know about it?
No, I think I've heard about it a little bit though.
It was going to be Vader and Starkiller have to team up because they crash on a planet, so kind of like Lords of the Sith. And it was going to be a co-op, like slightly open world game with Vader and Starkiller, like a 2-player thing.
Hey, hold on! I have an idea. Maybe our next video.
Okay.
We got to come up with our own Star Wars canon. We can mix in Legends and canon. We got to pull from it, but we have to come up with our own. What is our canon when it comes to Star Wars. And we can leave out movies if we want to leave them out. We can substitute books instead. So we got to come up with we got to do the prequel, originals.
I think we should make it harder.
Ooh, okay.
There has to be immovable stuff in canon, right? Like,
okay, so I think the movable is episodes 1 through 6.
What if we made it 1 through 9? Like they had to stay canon. What would you do then? That makes it harder. Let's brainstorm that off camera.
Offline. We'll do it. Y'all, you listen, you're looking at how the sausage is made, but we're just going to bring you the sausage next time.
I don't know about you, but I'm making waffles.
Oh, all right, donkey.
Donkey.
All right, y'all. Listen, we love y'all. Thank you for rocking with us. Nerd City Central. We will be back, Lord willing, next week with a brand new video. Love y'all.
I don't know why Lamont's trying to end this video when I had another point, but
Lord have mercy. What is your point? What do you want to say? What more do you want to say to the people? Let them go.
Oh, I will not let my people go, Lamont. There's a
God.
Prince of Egypt reference there for you.
I know what you're referencing, bro. What else you want to say to the people, man?
Seriously. So I mentioned earlier about like, what do you do with the books that you accidentally decanonize if you adapt Heir to the Empire to movies or TV show? You make them animated films, like 75-minute animated films, like DC Universe. Make all of them, every single one of them. You can have 4 come out a year. All the books are canon. All Legends is like verified and validated. And on that note,
you guys, hold on. I gotta raise my boy's hand virtually and say he's the winner today. That wins the day. That wins the YouTube, the internet, social media. Just listen, it's Lucasfilm. Come here, baby. Come here. Talk to me. If you ever watch this video, it's easy money. We will give you our money, okay? I will sell my kids toys to give you the money. Make movies, like animated films, out of the books. And just say this is a Star Wars vintage series, like you do on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Or the Star Wars Legends. You can slap the Legends. We don't care. Just make it in. You'll make so many people happy.
Yep. And it would be a way, because so many Star Wars fans don't read the books, don't read the comics, and they're missing out on so many great stories. And you don't have to change anything. You can cut stuff out that's non-story essential, like Master and Apprentice. Leave all the prophecy stuff in, leave the main plot in, cut out all the, I hesitate to use the word filler, but cut out all the extra substance, and you can have an 80-minute movie, or do 2-part movie like all the DC movies now are doing that are animated. And boom, you got people catching up. For the ones that want to go deeper, they have the books. For the ones that just want the main story beats, you got the animated movies. And then we can see it brought to life. You can bring back all the people as voice actors from the movies, and everybody wins. I don't understand why they're not doing this.
Hey, so we're going to talk offline. Listen, we got some content for y'all. Subscribe. We coming back next week with some good content, man. Lord willing, we love y'all. God bless. Be safe.
And again, Lamont thinks he's the one that's sending the videos, but I get the last word.
You were the chosen one!
Always hold on to small.
Avengers!
Assemble.